Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the Black Air Podcast. Today we have our inaugural episode. Of course, it's post Labor Day and it's back to school day, so get the kids up, send them to the living room, of course, get them started. Of course, today we have special guests from Free Game, Real Women, Real Topics. We have Mimi and Jalea. How you all doing today?
Good. How are you all?
Oh, we're doing great, doing better. We also have a special guest here, Detroit native, of course, production, songwriting, also the CEO of his own label, Mr. DoRohn Gough. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Now, from my understanding, you were born to do it. You actually had a label named after you before you can even walk, right?
Yeah. 1978, March 22nd, 1978 was the year I was born. And the day that I was born, a label was named after me,
Wow.
derived by my father, David L. Gough, who was a gospel artist in his own right at the time, and but then also saw a need for another outlet to exist in Detroit for gospel artists. So DoRohn Records was born on the day that I was actually born. And so I'll tell people all the time, I didn't choose it, it chose me. And so from that particular one, just kind of progressed and grew from a label. It started as a gospel label to DoRohn Entertainment, I believe in March 23rd, 1999, where he began to see a need for just to be able to start impacting culture. So to do more outside of just music, movies, and whatever that entails, fashion as well. Just a man that was visionary, and that's all I ever saw. That's the thing about it. My dad, he was an interesting man, to say the least. Actually, he passed 2017, and and so yeah, just the day that he, or I should say, I guess maybe the next day when we were heading over to my mom's house, the day that after he passed, it was three of us, my brothers and I. So three total, two brothers other than myself. And I get over there, and my youngest brother, we're about 18 months apart, and he says to me, "Who did we have with us?" and the thing he was coming from was the fact that he was looking at old videotapes, and my dad was years ago was talking the same principles that we had been hearing, even up to recent. And so just to be able to kind of see the consistency of what he has established and a lot of the life lessons that we learned from him, it just was definitely a privilege and an honor to know that we actually didn't know what we had until he was actually gone. Because sometimes you can be so close that you can be so yet so far. And so needless to say, that's the story that I really want to share. Of course, my dad was the founder of the International Gospel Music Hall of Fame Museum.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And literally still exists today. He was in the process of finding ground here in the city of Detroit because that was his heart was. And so, yeah, needless to say, I mean, it's just so much that we've done. I mean, DoRohn Records actually, which of course has now been passed on to me, DoRohn Records and DoRohn Entertainment. Our biggest claim to fame under his regime was, I believe, in 2003. We were named the top 5 independent gospel record labels in all the world, according to Billboard magazine. Top 5. You're talking about that was in the presence of Gospel Centric, which Kirk Franklin was on back in the day. Of course, we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. We're still
okay.
here.
You guys disappeared, so I didn't know. But
no, we're still here.
Okay, but yeah, Gospel Centric, Elektra Records. I mean, just a lot of your who's who gospel labels, and we were right there in the midst of all of them, just making a lot of different noises. So, but even in that, or what have you, of course, I started blossoming in my own personal career as a songwriter and producer. Of course, starting out serving as a producer at the label, at his label, and then I believe it was like 1990s, 98, 97, 98. I had had some mentors that actually came to our studio. Mentors by the name of Kern and Valdez Brantley, and they have been known to the gospel. I'm sorry, to the secular industry as the MD or musical directors to the stars for like over the last 30 to 35 years. Even to this day now, Valdez serves as musical director for Usher, and Kern has served as band leader for Lady Gaga. Just a lot of your who's. I'm talking about Mary J. Blige all the way to Biggie Smalls when he was.
Wow.
Anybody that was hot or doing something from the year of, early 1990s up until this present time, they've been the go-to guys when it came down to live nation production type shows. Kern served with Destiny's Child, Beyonce. I mean, just you name it. Their resumes are up the wazoo. So they actually came to our studio because my dad was actually hiring Valdez for his production services while he was home. And I'll never will forget the day that he came to our studio. I knew that he was coming. And when my dad first told me, it was like you could have told me that Babyface or Teddy Riley, who were the two hottest at the time, were going to become, or Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis. And it was just the same excitement, like, oh my goodness. And so when I received word that he was waiting in the control room for my dad, I grabbed a pen and paper and immediately out of my book bag and rushed to the control room. And I saw Kern and said, "Hey, Kern, what's going on?" I went straight to Valdez and I said, "Listen, as an inspiring musician and up-and-coming producer, it would just be my privilege for me to get your autograph." And he looked at me up and down and he's like, "Man, put that thing away, man. We're going to be cool." And literally from that point on, he took me under his wings for like the next 10 years and showed me all of just pretty much the do's and the don'ts of how to be a professional in this industry. And that was my first, he and Kern gave me my first break. I was the keyboard player for the 1999 Whitney Houston's last world tour. You never know how much a part of history that you are
Right.
far removed from it. And I believe it was around like 2011 when she passed away. And they kept talking about this world tour that she was on in 1999. I was like, I was there. I served as the keyboard player for a group called 112 that was signed to Diddy's Bad Boy.
Oh,
right. Yeah, I love 112.
At the time. And so, everybody says that same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we know who 112 is, but I don't want to never assume because,
we know.
I've been in the game for a long time. So,
I thought you were being modest, like this little group. Guys from Atlanta called 112.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that people understood, who was who. And so, needless to say, did that. Took a break from. I was at Eastern Michigan University at the time. Took a break for 2 months to do that tour. Came back, and that was the tour that in 1999 that solidified for me, even while I was in college, a college kid that said, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be in this industry and serve in this industry to the best of my ability."
That was a question I was going to ask too. What moment actually got you inspired to continue to do music?
Yeah. I had to be literally maybe 20, 21 years old at the time, and on that tour one night I'll never forget. We were doing LA, and I did in that particular venue. I met Quincy Jones and David Foster the same night. I shook their hands with my right hand, and I just thought I would never wash this hand again. Now I'm washing my hands every day and every moment, this pandemic. But it really gave me insight to that anything and everything is possible as long as you continue to put forth the effort and the work ethic behind what it is that you believe. I came from great ground. My dad did everything that he could to ensure that I was in position in the right environment to be able to exceed even further past what he was even doing. And I'm grateful for that, you know. So from my dad to Colonel Valdez, and then there was a kid by you know, at the end of 2005, 2006, by the name of a new artist by the name of Chris Brown, that was just jumping on the scene. And I was asked to serve as keyboard player for him. And then 2006, it got crazy because as a touring musician, you know, people try to downsize or try to budget as much as possible. So we ended up being the band for not just one, but two major artists at that time. It was like a huge, in 2006, I don't know if you guys remember, it was a huge new artist, Chris Brown, Neil,
Rihanna.
I mean, all of them just came and just showed up and were like, we are here.
Right.
Nobody else forget the past. This is the future right now.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw it, Lil Wayne, I saw it unfold right before my very eyes, and I was there.
Right.
There. So yeah, that was just interesting when that whole thing had came about. So that was my start into the industry. Pretty much just serving my gift as a keyboard player and just progressing on from there.
Yeah, I noticed that you were. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna let the lady go ahead and answer the question.
No, I just noticed that you came from a gospel background,
Yeah.
and I know, you know, I come from a you know, that same background, and I just want to know, did you feel a lot of pressure to, like, just share your talents with, you know what I mean, like with the Christian and gospel community, rather as branching out? Did you feel pressured, like, to just stay in that one particular realm other than to do, you know what I mean, secular? Because sometimes they kind of shun you for that, you know? Did you feel any type of way about that?
Well, you're talking to the right person. I grew up, my grandfather was a bishop in the Church of God in Christ.
Ooh wee! So there you go, right there.
So you already know, like,
right.
My grandfather, Bishop David M. Eubanks, my grandmother was a prayer warrior. She was first lady, you know, and my family, that's all we ever knew.
Right.
I never will forget prior to me accepting or literally going on the Chris Brown tour. Mind you, I married the love of my life, Sharita Elaine Gough, in 2003. And so we were pregnant with our first child in 2000 and near the end of 2005. And I never will forget my mom, who today, even now, is one of my biggest supporters in what it is that I do as a music executive, music producer, just the whole entire thing. But it was hard. Go ahead. Sorry, did I cut somebody off?
Oh no, you didn't. Go ahead.
It was hard to make a decision because at that time the church literally was downsizing. And so my grandfather told me, I was playing for him up until this time, and he told me that he couldn't keep me on the budget. And so he says, I'm praying for you, I'm trusting God for you, and knowing that God's going to take care of you like he always has. And so, you know, before the Chris Brown thing had came about, my mom was pressuring me, saying, you know, trying to keep me at the church to be able to serve my gift without any pay. And I think I would have done it, but I just knew that there was something greater on the inside of me that was the constant fight. So I said, I kept asking my mom, like, why would God give me this gift if I wasn't able to take care of myself and take care of my family, and then be able to show forth his glory like we're supposed to. So it was that fight. I said, listen, you guys have been teaching me to have faith all these years. I think it's a good time to be able to use that thing, right? So, to be able to put that on display. So that was the within the family dynamic. That was the challenge. You know, why don't you go ahead and get a real 9-to-5 job and just let that be a source of income, and then you could be able to still serve the church. And I was like, yeah, Uh, and,
Right.
and I never will forget. I shared a scripture with my mom, and I said, Jesus said, for the joy as he was laying on the cross, he actually endured a lot. And I said, in this life, we are going to have to endure something, but how much do we really believe? Even in the enduring, I believe even while quote unquote, you shouldn't really be enduring anything. You should be enjoying life. And so this whole thing is an entire journey, and that's what I believed at that moment. So push came to shove, the phone call came in, and my mom was just like, wow. And ever since then, I've been sharing testimonies upon testimonies about how the grace of God has literally used me as a conduit to be able to, be a representative for the kingdom of God in the entertainment industry, which is what I knew in my heart. That's what my entire purpose, even to this day, to be a representative for Him. And so, needless to say, that's what we've been doing over the last 28 years professionally.
That's great.
Oh, that's great. So you are a producer. Is the keyboard the only instrument that you know how to play, or do you know how to play more instruments?
No, so literally I started playing drums when I was 2. So that was my very first instrument.
Did you play snare or?
Say it again.
Did you play snare or bass, or what kind of drum did you play?
No, the full drum set. I was a drummer.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. That was my love and my passion at that early age. And then coming up in school, I was part of the orchestra, so I was playing the violin.
And you learned that by ear. How you learn to play the violin by ear? That is crazy. Because I tried to learn the violin, and I said, you know what? This ain't my ministry. This is not for me. This ain't it.
So interesting story. There was a radio station back in the day called 97.1 Joy FM. It was the easy listening station. And they played during that time. This was like around the 80s, early part of the 80s or whatever. They played anywhere from Frank Sinatra to Michael Jackson's Thriller, which was the hottest album at the time. And, even Kenny Rogers through the years. You're talking about, Anne Murray, Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue. I'm talking about or even All Night Long by Lionel Richie. It's just a well-rounded melting pot of just great music. Through the Fire by Shaka Khan, of course, with David Foster helped write and produce, what have you. And as a kid, my dad would have this station playing all the time. So that's what actually sparked the songwriter in me, because I'm in the back writing with him each and every time. My mom will always play gospel music, so I can always depend on the Winans, BB and CC, permission when I'm in the car with her. When I'm in the car with my dad, I could hear some gospel music, but most cases I'm going to hear a nice conglomerate of different styles of music by listening to this station. And I would literally, as a kid, be in the back seat, acting as if I'm actually playing the parts that I'm hearing. Playing, if I heard a certain keyboard sound, or I heard or an orchestra for that moment, I would act like I was directing. I was always paying attention to the people in the back that I've never seen. I would always hear about Quincy Jones, but rarely would I ever see him. I would always hear about the name David Foster, but never would have knew what he looked like. So to me, I feel like, in a day and an era where everything is visual, everything is from the ground up exposed. But back in the day, it was all about the name and the work, and the producer themselves, or the image of themselves, was always a mystery. And I think I grabbed hold to that, of always literally working to have something to show, and always remaining a mystery at the end of the day because you're so passionate about your work. And I think that was embedded in me early because once again, I'd never seen who Diane Warren was. You know, I'd never seen a lot of the people behind the scenes, all of these major songwriters and producers that were working. I never seen them until you know it was you know Google started happening and you know but you know I was the kid that was always buying an album and looking straight to the credits to see who did what. You know,
reading the liner notes. Yeah,
that's right. Mary J. Blige, My Life album, Jodeci's Diary Mad Band. I mean, you're talking about just as I'm growing up as a kid, a lot of this music that was being unleashed on us because remember. The 90s, Babyface and Teddy Riley, and of course, with the exception of Jim Jam, Taylor Lewis, those were the only two producers that was ruling black radio. And so when you see the verses matching between the two, and you see the actual reaction that they got, it's because they actually helped produce us. They're like, you know, and so as a producer, it is amazing to me. L.A. Reid passed literally in my career. Three of my major records that I know that I'm known for, he actually was the executive producer of it. And I tell people all the time, I've never met him to this day. Like people have said, LA knows your name and he knows your work, but you have never met him, man. You need to go see him and all this type of stuff and what have you. But the thing about it is there's a connection because he raised me.
Right.
Me listening to him and Kenny Babyface Edmonds and just a lot of different people, Rodney Jerkins, whatever. It's like we share this common love for music. It's about, and the best way I can explain it to you is all about emotional content. Emotional content is something that it doesn't matter what profession you're in. All you want to do is connect with people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's about connecting with people. And for me, that's what drives me to spend days on a particular song. So, you know, needless to say, I'll continue on with this since we're here. Neo, this is the chapter that I like to expound on when I signed on with Compound Entertainment, which was a subsidiary label. It was Neo's label that was under the whole Universal Def Jam regime.
Right.
Jay-Z, of course, was president. Of course, L.A. Reid and everybody was in cahoots with each other. And so, and once again, you never know how much of history you are a part of until you're removed from it. I literally did not know that when Neo had asked me to join with his label as a producer, I had no idea that I would be one of the first producers that would literally join in. It was myself, these big name producers, Chuck Harmony, you may have heard of him, Shay Taylor, who of course did all of Beyonce for, still works closely with Beyonce and Rock Nation.
Right.
It was a lot of, and we were all like Neo's personal composers, so to speak.
Kind of like the hitmen.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I promise you. Yeah. It was the reenactment of the Bad Boys Hitman like never before. And I thought to myself, I said, dang, I looked up to those guys. Now I'm in. Like, it was really cool. And we just found ourselves constantly just doing records, constantly expounding on the love that we have for music and just acting it out. You know, I found myself constantly on the road with Neo, serving as his keyboard player, eventually as his musical director, but then finding myself back in Atlanta, working in the studio. And I never will forget, he constantly was asking me for a CD, and I kept giving it to him, and he kept losing it. He told me, give it to his management, gave it to his management, and they lost it. And so I never will forget, we were at the Jay Leno show, and we're sitting there in the cafeteria, and we're eating our lunch, waiting for our turn to go back on for sound checking. And he's eating his food, and he says, hey, that CD, I need that CD again. So by this time, you have to understand, we're traveling all over the world, and this is like 5 to 7 month span of asking for CDs. And so finally I just said, bro, like, what's really good? Like, why y'all keep losing a CD? The same songs the same tracks I'm keep giving you. And so he's trying to, hold up his fingers, trying to finish chewing up his food. And he says to me, he says, I went back to my management, asked for the CD, and they were looking at me like a deer in headlights. But he says, but it was this one track that I was really feeling. And he hummed the melody of the actual track, of the actual instrumental. The actual instrumental, he hummed it. I thought to myself, this guy's got to be serious because, mind you, we're talking about 2007, 8, 2006, 7, 8, I mean, all the way through 12. We're talking about one of the hottest prolific songwriters that has ever
Right.
And everybody. Do you know how much music comes to him? So for him to remember, I knew he had to be serious. And that's when he told me, he said, listen, here's all my personal information. Take it down, send it directly to me, and we'll go from there. I did that. 2 weeks later, he emails me back. He says, listen, I just wrote a smash hit of what I was talking about. Either Michael or Janet's going to do it. I'll let you know what the deal is once we're there. And then that's from that point, he says, hey, by the way, do you have any management? How would you like to join the compound? So that was my introduction into being with Neo. And first of all, anytime you say Michael or Janet, you ain't got to say no last name.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. When you say Michael and Janet together, especially.
Right. Literally, like my world went in slow motion. I don't know if you guys remember when Michael Jordan hit the shot against the Cavaliers back in 1980.
Well, I'll remember, of course.
You remember.
We don't remember that.
It's a moment that I had to reenact, y'all, because I promise you, I literally jumped so high and did the fist pump like, yes! Like, I felt like I said, wow, all this hard work. Mind you, prior to this, 4 years ago, I was working with independent artists and just constantly doing track. Nothing ever came of them. So I ended up with a buttload of tracks. And
right.
4 years later, here it is, a track that was literally 4 years old.
Wow.
You mean tell me Michael and Janet are fighting over the record? And when the smoke cleared, this is the strange thing that happened. It got to Janet and L.A. Reid. By the time it got to Janet and L.A. Reid, I think she was with her then boyfriend, Jermaine Dupri, who was working on the project. By the time our record got to them, there were already 9 to 10 records done with the project. And she had already started rehearsals for a tour that was already scheduled. They received our record. And so what ended up happening, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I received a call. I remember there was a radio announcement, a major radio announcement. Janet's boyfriend backs off of her project. It says, yeah, I want to give some other young producers a chance to be able to see what they could do with her or whatever. And I'm writing down 696. I'll never forget. I was at home at this time. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what happened. And then I received a call from Neo's manager. He says, you do know what happened, right? I say, I have no idea what happened. He says, they were 9 to 10 records done with their project, and they had a tour scheduled, and she was already rehearsing for it. They received your record, and they said they canceled the tour, canceled all rehearsals, scrapped the entire project, and said, we're going to start with this record as a new direction for us.
Wow.
So
wow.
That record to this day is known as Can't Be Good. And it was released in 2008. That was another defining moment for me in my producer's career. And from that point on, we were constantly working with, groups from Bad Boys label, Day 26. We did a record with them. Did a record. Of course, we're working with Neo. The record I'm most known for to this day is Champagne Life.
I love that
I
song.
love that song.
Yes. It's
2010, and we did like multiple records for that particular project, and but I believe 2 is on there. And then of course, by this time I had already did a 2 to 3 year deal with Compound Entertainment and signed on for another 2-3 year deal. So I was with Neo as a producer for 6 years. And that was the moment where I felt like during that 6 years, I had a strong enough name to be able to stand on my own. Because I never will forget, I did make a promise to God before I had even signed the deal with Compound. I said, because there was no outlet here in Detroit, in my hometown. Once again, I'm a son of Motown, so I make no bones about it, and I made a promise that I would literally provide an opportunity or create an establishment that would literally continuously provide an opportunity if God had given me the opportunity to be able to do so. And so, and when I realized what was happening with my career, God had brought that back to my remembrance. And so that's why, people have always thought that, I always thought that you moved away from Michigan. I thought you never did come back, because people were always was blessed and talented enough to get the deals, and they would move off. And that's not to say I would never move, and trust me, I've had countless of opportunities to be able to move to Atlanta, LA, and New York as well.
Right.
But I just felt like there was a season I need to be able to establish something here. And so, of course, went on ahead and started doing work for Kim in 2014. We even the last 2 years, I was working under David Foster. Big, huge dream moment for me. David Foster had discovered an Asian artist who's like the equivalent of Michael Jackson over there in China.
Oh, wow.
In all of Asia. And so we were actually putting the show together for the last 2 years prior to this pandemic hitting for his tour. And so I was one of the producers and arrangers for that particular show. A guy by the name of J.J. Lynn is his name. You can look him up. He is phenomenal. He's phenomenal. But even during that time or what have you, I just remember me wanting to provide opportunities. I said, I'm 42 now, and I never will forget when my dad took ill in 2016 into 2017. I knew that it was in my heart. I kind of stayed away from the business side of trying to run a label, but for some reason, I started getting this weird feeling like I need to do this. And so my dad, I never will forget, walked into the hospital, and it was my birthday, and I was turning 39, and my brother Devin says to my dad, "Hey, it's your record label's namesake birthday today. He's 39 years old." And it just hit me all at once. I said, "Wait a minute, I got a lot of miles on me." And from that point on, I said, well, I need to start moving from a mindset of being successful to being significant. See, success.
Right.
That's when you add value to yourself, but significance is literally when you put yourself in position when you start to add value to other people. And so, needless to say, we gracefully asked my dad, would it be okay if I would take over the family label, and he straightened himself up and looked at me and looked at my brother Devin and says, "Absolutely." This is what I did this thing for. So
I thought you'd never ask. It took you so long.
Man, oh man. But I mean, to be able to get that blessing from him meant the world to me. Right. It did. It really did, because everything came full circle. And so when my dad passed away, I didn't know really how I was going to do this whole label thing. I knew we had to rethink things because the industry has changed, and it's ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we decided to develop a new or add a new leg to this music conglomerate, because even that same year I was being honored down in Atlanta for their Icon Awards. And there were some pretty big names that was also being honored on the same ticket. I mean, your Tricky Stewarts and Paul Kellys and Chuck Harmonies, they were all on the same ticket. And I made the announcement then. I was very bold because I had no idea, what the plan was, but I just knew in my heart. I told people, I says, well, they say, well, what's next for you? I said, well, It's no longer the era of the big three. Welcome to the era of the big four. And you could almost hear a pin drop in that room. But I knew I was serious because I said to myself, I got to make this happen. So needless to say, that's where we're at. We have started this new company called Banjay Entertainment, which is literally the heartbeat of a lot that I love because it's really my personal way of giving back. It's a talent agency that kind of serves the market for a lot of your corporate events and private parties and upscale weddings or what have you. But really, because I've been a part of it in the past, wedding bands and different things of that nature. But, those things have been just extremely just mediocre overall.
Right.
We have a lot of the front artists that are older who can sing a little bit, not really though. they try to rap, but they really ain't rapping. And their band is playing on top of karaoke tracks with all the wrong chords and all the wrong sounds. So nobody's really the people is being entertained, but they really not enjoying themselves. So I just thought to myself, I said, well, what if we blow the dust off of this concept and use this as a new engine to really not only discover talent, but give talent an opportunity to be able to do what it is that they love to do while make money doing it.
Right.
And that was our go ahead to be able to kind of be focused in on that, and we did it. It's been going on right now. Thank God, has been successful for over the almost going on 3 years in December that we've been at this, and we're managing close to over 50 something odd talent between artists, musicians, and I'm talking about artists that really are artists full time. A lot of your who's who here in Detroit have been and still are a part of this, and we're just discovering people from the theater world and different things of that nature, and it's been really, really good. But as a producer and as a music executive, it's given me a bird's eye view to see who connects to the crowd, because at that point, there's so many different things that we're developing out of this. And of course, me being in contact with the people that I'm in contact with over at Universal, Sony, and Warner Brothers, it just serves as a very, very, how can I put this, a very, very valid situation that, when you talk about it serves as a great thing for the market, but also for artists, as artist development one-on-one at the end of the day.
Right. That's right. And I actually looked at the work that you've done with artists like Camille Page.
Yes.
Camille Page, Detroit artist. I used to actually manage Camille Page.
Yes. Camille's an awesome talent.
How does it feel to actually have someone like just not really known and work with them and see the creativity that they put out? Awesome. And try to, duplicate what is done on the mainstream.
Definitely. Once again, like I shared with you before, from Banjay to independent artists who literally are just amazing, such as your Camille Pages. I never will forget, we were actually working with, I had an opportunity to do work for Mindless Behavior, who was signed with Interscope in 2014. And I back then, from 2006 to 2015 or something like that, I had my own production company that was kind of subsidiary or underneath the whole DoRohn Entertainment umbrella that my dad has established all these years. But our point in DoRohn production team was literally our entire point was just to create great records. That was it. That was our entire goal. We did have some pretty cool opportunities to work with different artists, but our goal was to create great songs. And so, needless to say, I walked into a studio, and here was this amazing talent who we're talking about, Camille Page. I was literally working with one of the artists that we were using for a lot of demos. And the sound that I heard come out of those speakers was just another wow factor for me. And from that particular day, we just hit it off so well. And And I used her as, of course, along with some other songwriters, and kind of put this whole thing together. We were putting records together for Mindless Behavior, who was signed to Epic. They were signed to Interscope, but they made a transition over to Epic Records under L.A. Reid, and so we were pulling records together for that particular project. And she is creatively, she is a monster, a monster. Just her background vocal arranging is just, she's an alien, you know, and I mean that in a good way. She just hears differently and brings a certain amount of creativity. But you know, the amount of talent that I work with is, you know, I'm just favored by God, because I get a chance to be in the same room with these people. One that I'm excited about working with now. If you'd like to know what am I?
Oh yeah, of course. That's why you're here.
I'm excited to work with an artist. Her name is Deshandra Perry, but you could just call her Deshandra, because she's just that great. Her first name just rings. It just shows forth her greatness. She's already famous in the gospel industry, and we're in talks with her of just working with her and really wanting to sign her, but we haven't been official yet. But I tell you, Deshandra is a monster. Like I can't tell you the joy that she brings me every time she sings. Like she really sings you so happy. And you know, of course, she started out with her then pastor from back in the day, Pastor Marvin Winans, and Marvin Winans actually broke her out on his album, and then from there she was featured on Kirk Franklin, and then you know, I'm talking about all at the tender age of 14 years old, mind you.
Oh wow!
Now she's about to be, I think she's 29, 30, somewhere around there. But literally, like, she is amazing. She sung, of course, was nominated for a Grammy with James Fortin, working with him. And so, but she still has yet to actually put out her own project. And so myself and Anisha, you may know her as Anisha Burchett from A+, but Anisha Moody, she's been married now for some years. We're producing her project, Deshandra's project. And if anybody knows anything about Anisha, she is somebody's singer, artist, songwriter. I mean, and so she's vocal producing Deshandra, and we just work well together. Myself and Anisha, we worked together for a lot of years. Came up in the game, really didn't even know it at the same time as in our professional careers, breaking out at the same time. And so for me to work with my sister and work with my other sister, Deshandra, it's just a blessing. And, you know, you'll be hearing something extremely soon from there. Of course, we recently just did the single for the Clark sisters that, you know, of course, is they're making a lot of noise just from their life in general. They just, of course, released a movie. And but right before the movie was released, they released their album. And it's been the #1 gospel album in the country for a lot of weeks. So we're extremely happy to join on with them, because I received a call from the producer, which is Karen's son, Jay Drew. And he called me to literally wanted me to do a remix. And he gave me the opportunity to choose any song that I wanted. See, and this is the thing I want you to understand, is like, you don't necessarily have to go after it. It will come after you. Because truth be told, when he said I could choose any song I wanted, the song that I chose first was not the record. It was not the song that I end up doing. And the reason that I didn't follow through with the first choice was because there was some licensing agreement or what have you. They didn't have access to the vocals or what have you. So I said, okay, well, then you know, so he sent me the vocals for His Love, which featured Snoop Dogg. And I sat with that record, and I'm telling you, I was I was a little shocked when I got the surprise because I didn't know. Because first of all, Jay Drew had did an awesome job with that particular record, with the original record called "His Love" featuring Snoop Dogg, and I told him, I said I didn't want to touch a masterpiece. I'm real funny about when stuff is already perfect, touching it. Like I don't want to do that. But when he received my revision of it, my remix of it, he said, "Man, you really did this!" And he was very pleased with it. And he could tell you my first reaction, I said, is, "You like it?" and you have to understand, as a producer, we're still artists at the end of the day. Like we are artists, and we are very sensitive. But this one, I wasn't really all the way 100 sure, because once again, of what was already established, and I don't like messing with great pieces of art, great pieces of work. If I feel like there could be room enough to grow, then so be it. I'll attack it, and that was the reason why I chose the first one. But this one, it definitely chose me, and so now, hey, to God be the glory. It's the single on the project, and we're gonna be pushing the remix. It's gonna be really good.
So I feel like this interview came just in time because Jalea and I just recently started a segment where we want to support up and coming artists. And we have them send in their songs, and we try to like critique them or just give them, just positive feedback, and just some feedback that they may not want to hear, But my question is, what's the number one mistake that people make in this industry, as far as the singers, the rappers, the producers? What's the number one mistake that's made in this industry?
That's a good question. I think the number one mistake that usually people and creatives usually make is not using the greatest commodity that they've been given, and that's time. I think there, when it comes down to it, we're in such an era today where everything is more about being seen.
Yes.
And the time that it takes to actually create what is to be heard or to be felt. I tell people all this. I tell people to this all the time, and this is the God honest truth. When people ask for a hit record, you ain't got time to make one. And what I mean by that is that you're to always remain in a state of readiness. You should always, no matter how professional I may be considered to be, I'm always a student. I'm always, no matter how many people I mentor, I'm always looking to be mentored or to be a mentee, because that's the thing that constantly keeps me growing. I don't care how many things I do in my career. I will always respect Valdez Brantley. I will always respect that, because these were people that gave me my shot. These are the people that gave me my break. I will always respect, Neo. I don't care if he doesn't have another hit record. He gave me the opportunity. These people did not have to do that. And so I think it's two things, and I said one, but it's two. Is mismanagement of time and mismanagement of respect. Because that is the thing that honor and respect literally carries you a long way, and it brings you to opportunities that you'll be looking like if you treat it right, you'd be looking like, where did it come from? Well, I think it comes from a certain principle. Is literally when you respect those and honor those that are before you, and that literally paves the way for you. It goes a long way and helps you to be the person of character, person of integrity, and person of just a conduit to be able to help somebody else along. My dad always used to say, he said, never pay it back, always pay it forward. Never pay it back, always pay it forward. And so yeah, I think today producers, artists, songwriters, they just need to invest that time aspect to making sure. And I tell this to people all the time. I only got one chance for people to press play.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And when they press play, what are they going to get? Something that before they press play that I'm proud of?
Right.
This is how I know I'm done with a piece of work. If I'm continuously pressing rewind, then I'm done.
Mm.
If I'm only pressing play one or twice time, then I need to go back to the drawing board. Because there's another thing my dad had taught us down through the years. He says, if you were starving and you only had $2 and the record you just completed, he says, would you spend that $2 on a hamburger or would you buy the piece of work you just done?
Mm.
And if you're willing to starve for the work, then you've done a great job.
Yeah, that's that old Motown quality control.
That's all I'm talking about, Beast. It's quality control.
Yeah.
Investing that time to maintain that quality control and making sure that quality control produces emotional content like never before.
Right.
And that's just the bottom line. And respecting people along the way. When that happens, I think we will have the thing that Monica and Brandy had just displayed. We will have what the '90s actually constantly produced. It was a film that was unexplained. And so yeah, that's my take on it. Is time and honor is the thing that is the mistake that people literally misuse all the time.
Okay. Speaking of verses, we had the head-to-head verses with, of course, Neo and Jonta Austin. Did you get to see that?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
It was a proud moment for us. First of all, I respect highly Jonta Austin. I respect him so much. I literally, oh boy, I want to say we've met, but I can't remember a moment right now. But in some way, shape, or form, so we've crossed paths in some way, shape, or form. But I knew that he was going to be a problem because of all the work that he has completed and that he's done down through the years or what have you. But I just feel like we held our own, no question about it. When you talk about the years of Compound and I forgot the Noontime was the company that they came from, and they were both out of Atlanta. So it was great to see. Noontime, you had the likes of Brian Michael Cox, Jazzy Faye, Jermaine Dupri was involved in some way, shape, or form in cahoots with them. I think he partnered with them at some point in time. And of course, Jonta also was one of the main writers during that time. And, but when I had to say, Compound didn't have anything to hang his head on. When those records played, it provided a whole nother time capsule. And you remember where you was when you first heard that record and different things of that nature. So it was great.
All right. So, ladies, you have any more questions? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm here.
Scared me for a minute.
I just noticed that, just like when you were talking, you were saying how when you used to play for the church, they said that they were making cutbacks and, that they weren't going to be able to pay you. And nowadays, we're living in a time where people want to use their gifts and talents to, to make money, to make money off of what they can do. Should you ever be worried about money making with this, or should this just be something fun or something that you enjoy that could possibly lead to, you know what I mean? Is it ever a
Absolutely.
money thing? Is it?
Absolutely. No. So that's the mistake that people make all the time, and that's why there's no longevity in people's careers. You first of all, the key to this whole entire thing is, and I'm even conveying this over to constantly to my children. Now I'm my dad now, right? and I'm constantly conveying this over to my kids, and even just others that God puts in my path. And I do, entertainment type seminars constantly, all the time. And I say, number one, you want to find something that you're passionate about. Let me just say this. I discovered at the tender age of 11 that I was never going to work for anybody. My first and my last job was at the tender age of 11. I was working as a caddy at a golf course called Plum Hollow, and literally, we were to report to our jobs with our own towels, and so this golfer thought I wasn't cleaning his golf clubs with my mom's towel good enough, and so he decided, says, "Here, boy, let me show you something." He took the towel, and he hopped in my towel.
Oh no!
And at that point, I was heavily involved in basketball, and of course, I was always playing music. So at that point, I made a decision. I said, either I'm going to make it to the NBA, or this music thing is going to have to work. But I am never with anybody ever again, or I'm definitely not going to be doing something that I'm not passionate about.
Right.
So I walked from that situation, never to return. And here it is, tender age of 42, and I'm still just holding on to that same notion. but the thing about it is that I did not want to do anything that would cause me not to, or to operate in anything less than a spirit of excellence. So if I'm not happy doing something, if you're not happy doing something, that's a huge clue that you need to be doing something else. And the thing about it is that everybody has a gift. Everybody has a gift. Not everybody's gift is the same.
Right.
And whatever it is that literally, if money was not an issue, I tell people all the time, this is how you find what your or start on the journey of what your purpose is. If money was not an issue, what could you see yourself doing for the rest of your life?
Right.
And if money was not an issue, if you could just take the money, what could you see yourself doing that you could be very happy with for the rest of your life? And that's why I spend countless of hours in the studio by myself looking at a wall that has nothing on it. Because I have found the very thing that I was created to be and to do and I was created for. The thing that when you find out what you were created for, the entire world knows exactly what to call you for. My phone does not ring anymore unless it is, my family or people seeking me out to do what it is I do best.
That's great. That's good. I need to write that down.
I know, right?
What are some, or who are some? I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No. I was getting ready to say I just discovered who I am. And so it was a filtering process. So I had to filter out, just the phone calls that I did not want to receive because I'm so focused on what it is that I was created to be. That's it.
Right.
So is there anybody that you would like to work with that you haven't worked with yet? Like, is there a bucket list? Do you have any, you know what I mean? What is it that you want to do that you haven't done, or a person you want to work with that you haven't?
I've so okay, so I'll get, yes, I do have an entire list of people. Wouldn't you know it? back in like early 2000 or mid 2000. Snoop Dogg was on that list, and now
Oh
he's
wow.
off. Like, which was pretty amazing to me. So that's another thing I would suggest for people who's listening, is that creating a list is powerful. It is amazing when you actually have something control over what you want to do. Just write it down. I'm currently working on a major project in honor of one of my mentors, Dr. Miles Monroe,
Oh wow.
who literally married both me and my wife. Dr. Miles Monroe
Oh.
is a major icon in this world of motivated speaking and teaching. He was a pastor, but of course he passed away in 2014 due to a plane crash, and he's my wife's godfather. So
Wow.
literally, of course, my father-in-law's mentor or whatever. So they really had taken me on literally as one of their mentees and sons. And so, but in honor of him, I'm doing a record in tribute to him. And so it's kind of my own personal own producers, We Are the World type of thing. And so you'll be hearing more about that. But that's a big, huge deal to me, because he had such a huge influence in my life and just how I thought about life in general. And but you talk about artists, Beyonce definitely, which of course I was thankful when Champagne Life was released. A good friend of mine who works closely with her told me that she loved Champagne Life. So I started doing a whole bunch of records like that. I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
And, but from her to a lot of your today's artists, I love Ariana Grande. Mind you, I want to work with Brandy and Monica. Like,
Oh yeah.
I still think I still believe that they actually have some great impact to be able to unleash on the world, and I think that was very well proven.
And it goes back to what you said. You remember when you said Chris Brown, Neo, all of these new artists came out? That's what they were in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Monica, Brandy, Aaliyah, you had Maya, all of these different young talent that just came in and just created their own lane.
Yeah, definitely. And you're so right. Here's the take. If there's breath in your body, if you're still breathing, then that means there is still something for you to release. And God and something within you is waiting for you to do it. So I tell people all the time, like, the time between the thought or the idea coming to your mind and the time that you actually do it needs to be very short. It needs to be short. Like, you need to get yourself into a process of think and do. That's it.
Right, because most people have problems, determining, or so how would they even narrow something like that down? Because I think that's the number one problem we have today in this generation, is people not knowing who they are, what they're gifted at,
Yeah.
So where would you even begin, as a person trying to discover that?
And the crazy thing is, it's kind of a gift, realizing what your gift is.
Absolutely.
Right. Because a lot of people don't realize that.
Absolutely. Great question. And I will take a page out of the book what we're dealing with now. I think after quarantine is over, self-quarantine yourself. Like, understand the gift that we've been given, by which everybody thought that it was a curse. No, it was a gift.
It was.
It's a gift to be able to have time slow down or not exist, or to have those deadlines removed, where just everybody was in the don't know. And while you're in the don't know, man, I was licking my chops. I was like, oh boy. because I was quarantining myself over the last 2 years creating Band J.
Right.
And literally, I'm telling you, it's just one of those things where I was quarantining myself when I was creating all these records. You don't just that's why I said you don't have time to create. When people ask for a hit record, you ain't got time to create one. That means you're always to be in a state of working and readiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, believe you me, when Beyonce come calling, I'm ready.
Right.
I always put myself in a position of whatever it is I desire. My dad always used to say, whatever it is that you are now, that's because you've worked at it or haven't worked at it for the last 10 years. So whatever it is that you want to be it in 10 years, be it now. So then when that 10 year lives out, you're already prepared.
Wow.
Right.
Right.
You know, our artists, the greatest thing that artists have right now is a comb and a mirror.
A comb
and a mirror.
The greatest thing that a drummer has in his possession, if he don't own a drum set, is a pillow and some spoons. Like, get your. What all I'm saying is use your imagination.
Wow.
Eventually, if you do it, you'll get to the place where you had to be.
Right.
And that's all I've done my entire career. That, you know, people always accuse me. It's like, how come you don't post a lot? Because I'm always working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always working.
That kind of reminds me of Hank Aaron. You know, when he was a kid, he used to take like a twig, like the thinnest twig, and used to try to hit bottle caps.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up breaking Babe Ruth's home run record.
Ah, boy. And you know, Bruce Lee. I watched a documentary on him, and he was talking about. They were talking about the fact that, you know, he came over to America to be a big movie star. They really wasn't treating Asians in the Hollywood arena the way that he felt like they should be treated. So he learned what he needed to learn from America, and then went back to his country in Hong Kong and became and developed some of the most iconic movies out of Asia that has ever been created. So much so that America ended up wanting to create a deal with him, wanted to strike a deal with him. So that's all I'm saying. Nobody has no excuse. Let me say that again. Nobody has no excuse. Whatever it is that you desire to do, you have it within you. Can I tell you something? And I've worked with major labels. I work with major publishing companies. And I tell you, God has allowed me to create an establishment that I literally can literally work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Literally work for myself. Everything that you want to do, you already have it on the inside of you.
Right.
You ain't gotta wait for. Now, thank God when you have these moments of manifested desire to literally come and present itself. To me, I feel like those are just God's whispers of saying you're doing good. You know, and Quincy Jones have always said, it's like when you're in the studio and you're creating a song, you need to make room for God to come on in and
which brings me to it's so crazy because I have to say this while you're saying that. Just what does a person do when they're trying but they don't see anything? Maybe they know what they're supposed to be doing and they're operating in that, but they haven't received that harvest of that yet. You know, do they keep going? You know, even though they haven't seen any results. You know, what is one to do when they're trying, but you know, just persevere, just keep working until you see results. Like, how is this thing supposed to work?
Good question. And very, very practical things that you can be able to do. Number one, get rid of everybody that doesn't believe.
Ooh, that's it right there. You can just stop with
you know, anybody that that is always, even I'm talking about even down to the little passive side jokes. Oh, I'm just playing. I say that. I would distance myself as much as possible, as that you have control, because a lot of times what people don't understand is that you already deal with enough internal insecurity.
Right.
You don't need those internal to have external help. So that's number one, is literally just distancing yourself from people that always try to feed into the negative, or that doesn't feed your faith in what it is. And then on top of that, just don't distance yourself from those people, but attract yourself to people who are doing what it is that you want to do. Here's the thing. You may be an entertainer that is dreaming of having a moment. Man, listen, you got YouTube, you got stories you can look up. Constantly feed yourself. Of course, number one, pray. That's just
right.
there ain't no way around it. Continuously have a strong prayer life. And then after that, practically what you can be able to do is surround yourself in the environment of your own space, of constantly, because what you focus on, you eventually are going to find. And then what you want to do third, so number one, what did I say? Help me. Distance yourself from the people who don't believe.
Right.
That can even be passive jokers. They don't even understand what they're doing. And then number two, constantly feed yourself on the things that, number two, pray, and feed yourself on the thing that you really desire to do. Research. You should every day. My dad always used to tell me this all the time. He said, Dave, my first name is David, by the way, okay? So he said, Dave, when I was a kid growing up in school, he says, all you need to be doing is homework, practicing piano, and producing. That's it. All you need to be doing.
Right.
He said, right. And I'm telling you, as I was coming through, I was like, man, I can't do nothing else. And that's not what he was saying. But his whole thing his focus was, your focus needs to be just those three things. Because when you do that, you can write your own ticket. And what am I doing today? I'm still doing the thing that I love to do. And I'm taking care of my family because of it.
Right.
Right.
That's the rewarding part, when you can take care of your family doing what you love. Exactly. And it don't feel like a job.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the third thing I would say, literally, is find a problem that you can provide a solution. Always think of problems that you can think about a solution. Those three things that you do will lead you on the path. Something always will start to happen, and you'll be on this motion path like, man, and you'll find yourself in a position where you've always desired to be.
That's what I try to create with branching, like not branching, but bridging the gap towards other content creators. Because this space right here that we're in, where we have to be locked down, it's not a lot of outlets that are welcoming in new talent. So Zoom has actually created a lot of talent.
Yes.
Just by being at home, picking up a mic and talking, even Facebook Live, what the ladies do every Sunday. So in that aspect of it, it's good to create relationships with other people doing the same thing you're doing. And we can create a network of people that just create content that other people like, branching off with our fan base to their fan base and creating something that can be much bigger after the pandemic.
Let me just encourage you. You may be in a situation where you're operating on Zoom, but treat it like NBC has just offered you a deal.
Exactly.
Wow.
And whatever it is that you're doing now, beautify it more. Like, be as creative as you possibly can be to make your brand that much more attractive.
Right.
See, that's the key. most record labels right now, they don't want to sign an artist. They want to see what you're doing. And they want and if you're valuable enough, they say, we want to partner with you, and you can be open to our world and have access to everything we have access to.
Right.
So you may be in a room. You may be in your bedroom. Okay. What can be in the backdrop of your bedroom that's going to actually take your show to the next level? What product placement would you like to connect with? What products that are out there? Is it Mountain Dew? Do you like Mountain Dew? Like, do you want to have Mountain Dew always somewhere in the camera shot? See,
right.
I want you to understand you have the quality control to do whatever it is that you desire to do. But what ends up happening is a lot of times distractions come to try to eat. It tries to eat at your time, and it's always vying for that 24-hour space.
Wow.
That's why I get joy in turning off my phone. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I decided a long time ago, nobody gonna drop in on me. It ain't happening. It ain't happening because my time is too valuable, and my wife helped me to see this. She helped me see this. She says, you know what, the gift that you have, you need to treat yourself just like Jay-Z and Beyonce does. You don't see them. When they show up, they show up.
Right.
Right.
And so I just challenge everybody who hears this. Quarantine was a gift.
Yes.
It was a gift for those that may have had a lot of noise. I heard Lady Gaga say, turn down the noise. Stuff in the position. And when you'll be amazed at the things that come to your head, come to your ideas. And so many ideas that end up happening that you'll be like, wow. And literally what you want to do overall is leave the world in a much better place than when you were given it.
That's profound, man. That's words to live by.
Yep, all day.
I think the pandemic was God's way of saying, hey, y'all need to sit down. Just sit down, relax.
Yes, definitely.
and think about what you're doing before you do it. You know, you guys ever heard about the New York blackout in '77? Like what came out of the New York blackout?
Refresh my memory.
Okay, ladies, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but before the New York blackout, it was like, I would say 5 New York DJs. Total. All the barrels, 5 New York DJs. The blackout happened, and of course, looting happened. And an appliance store got looted. DJ equipment was taken out of all of them. So after the blackout, it was like 17 to 30 New York DJs. And most of them had big rap stars who learned, of course, their craft or got bigger from the DJs who would go in the park and DJ. So a lot of people say the New York blackout created hip hop, basically. A lot of the DJs that like Jam Master Jay had some equipment. I think DJ Cass said he had a mixer. Like all of these different hip hop icons had different stuff that came from this terrible event. What was supposed to be a terrible event. So for the pandemic now, what are you coming out of the pandemic with? Like how I set that up, don't you?
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that's a very valid question. Is this a question to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, all of us.
All of us.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to say, it really number one, it confirmed to me what I already knew. And so, with that being said, of course, time being our greatest asset. Now, where I'm at with it is getting this over to number one, my children, and really investing into them, the things that has been invested into me. I really feel like, my number one greatest pride and joy is my family, and wanting to see the best for them and to see them realize what it is that I have realized about myself, about themselves. My wife is a event planner, and so she has her own company, Studio Designs, and it's just amazing. I get so much joy being able to see her do her thing. You know what I mean? And so wanting to be able to invest in excitement just as much as excited I am about music. I try to be there for her intellectually, emotionally, just the whole entire thing. What is that and literally come to find out, she actually discovered or decided more that she wanted to do it after we got our first time getting back from the Grammys in 2013. Mm. The idea came to her. All these ideas came to her just from that trip that we actually did. Wow. So I was happy. And then for my kids. And then once again, I think more just the pandemic has literally has said to me, no one knows when their time is up. So I think whatever it is that you desire to do, it ain't I'ma do. It needs to be now.
Right.
You need to get the Amadeus out your mind. So I think that's just the now factor. Now is what I've been coming out of this whole pandemic with. Just the urgency of now.
Hey, ladies.
I really think this has been a time for me to think and reflect a lot about my life and the direction that I want to go in, because you're right. This year has showed me that, I mean, this has been a crazy year for everybody. And it's definitely showed me that time is very valuable. And that's why I just want to thank you, Mr. Gough, because it really identified with me, and it was confirmation to me, actually. And that's about it. I really thank you. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you and ask you questions, and just to hear that somebody can do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you can do that, I can do it, So, yeah, just thank you, because it was definitely just a confirmation to me that, I'm going in the right direction. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the pandemic as well. I've had an opportunity to explore different business ventures and, figure out what it is that I'm really destined to do. And just, tying into what Mimi was saying as well, talking to you today has definitely gave me a lot of motivation just to keep on exploring all my business ventures.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, for me, this podcast platform, I really wanted to do what I felt I was brought here to do. I started with an internship in radio in like 2003. Then I became an artist, then became a producer, then became a manager. In the meantime, I did camera work. So I bounced around a lot of different avenues within entertainment, but it's nothing like sitting down and getting a story from someone like you, or getting perspective from the ladies, and actually putting out information that need to be heard, because this is motivating. A lot of people need to hear things like this from someone, even with you being from Detroit, something that might not seem significant, but for someone who is from Detroit that want to produce, that does gospel, who don't think they can go out and do secular music and be looked at the same way, it's something that they would want to hear, So it gives me a joy to be able to provide that type of platform.
Well, listen, thank you. Just for being open with me, because I'm literally like, I enjoy this, and I enjoy hearing what others are doing, because if I'm in any way in any position to be able to help, I'm going to do it. Just over the last few months, because of the pandemic, it's just amazing. And I told this to you guys earlier about how if you desire to be a thing, start speaking that thing to your life as it being now that you are, and not this. You're going to be, but that's what you are. And over the last maybe 10 to 15, 20 years, I've always just prayed to God, said, God, I desire to be a center of finance, and wanting to be able to help people, especially within our industry, in the entertainment industry, because that is like one of the number one main issues in the come up for artists and creatives alike. Is how do you make money?
Right.
Like why you trying to work on your record, how do I actually make some money doing this? And so needless to say, been talking that, really thinking on that, dwelling on that as I'm working. And over the last 3 months, our company is, along with my father-in-law, Jerome Edmondson, who has really been very influential in working and advising the SBA, Small Business Association, which is a governmental company, U.S. government company. Basically, we've been helping a lot of different companies realize advances as far as the EIDL loan, which stands for Emergency Injury Disaster Loan, and it's an advancement that President Trump, of course, a lot of people doesn't think too highly of them, but from his business sense, he did do something great for small businesses. He set aside $145 billion for small businesses. And we've been, through my referrals, and of course, my father-in-law helping and assisting we've been helping a lot of different businesses all across Detroit and all across of Michigan. But of course, he's been helping people all over the country and the world as well. So I've just been thankful that we've been able to do this because, the SBA has been really, really seeking and desiring to want to help the Black community, but they didn't know exactly how to do it. So we've been in a position to be able to do so and to get people approved for these loans that are great rates and different things of that nature, whatever. So that's been a blessing for me, and this is something that I've been seeing myself in this role to be able to be a help and assistance in that area. So it's been very great to be able to do so.
That's a blessing. It's great that you're a vessel for other people to see their potential and actually achieve what they want to achieve. I want to thank you again for, of course, blessing us with your presence here. This is the first episode, so you set the tone, of course.
Awesome.
Yes. So no matter how big the show is, I told the ladies, no matter how big the show is, if I get to 40 episodes and people want to hear it, they go to the first episode, they're going to hear you.
Awesome. That is great. Well, listen, let me just say this before you sign off. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for letting us get the pleasure of speaking with you.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a great joy. It was a great joy for real. I'm so serious, and don't be shy to ask for me to have me back. Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe we can be able to service some other people as well.
As a matter of fact, after the Clark sisters win that Grammy, I'm gonna have you back.
There you go. Because
you said speak it to existence, so I'm doing it.
There you go. I love it.
So again, what's the single? It's His Love.
His Love remix is the version that I was blessed and fortunate to be able to do. And of course, they just released the video, and then also they did a virtual tour or a virtual concert that they did. And so you can surf the net and look for those things and what have you. Yes, they are they're up for an Emmy, as well as being considered in the running for a Grammy as well. So we'll know that officially towards the end of this year and kind of go from there. But Definitely, I'm excited. Shout out to a lot of my team. My brother DoRohn Gough, who's been my manager for years, and of course my father-in-law Jerome Edmondson, who's my business manager. Of course, a lot of people that I worked with down through the years, Mr. Russell Davis IV, Miss Cherry Black, Miss Anisha Moody. Boy, now I'm starting calling names, and I'm a whole bunch of people names, but everybody, you know that I love you guys, and let's just continue to move forward in faith together.
Okay, ladies, social media platforms and when they can check out the Free Game podcast.
Well, we go live on Facebook. My Facebook is Mimi Bowen, MIMIBOWEN. We have our Instagram page and our Facebook page, Real Women, Real Topiqz, and Topiqz is spelled TOPIQZ. And yeah, just go follow us, and tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m.
All right, so I'd like to thank you all again. Anything that you want to hear important to the Black Ear, always tune into the Black Ear podcast. I'd like to thank all of you for listening, and see you next week.
Awesome.